Again, I've tried to film this video a few times. This is the third time I've tried to film this one. I got a really good camera set up, and then I forgot how I did it. So, but I think I've figured it out again. So hopefully it stays where it is. By the way, I don't recommend filming when you're driving, but just so you know, I have all of my focus on the road. So we're totally safe. You know, as safe as you can be in a car. So I wanted to talk about furthering on from what I mentioned in the last video about the online community. Yeah, I found it very helpful sharing my experience and listening to the experiences of other people. And I've contacted other people have contacted me. I have barely any views in my YouTube videos, but that's not really why I'm doing it. I share them with specific people, and I recently unlisted them, so I thought I might as well. But yeah, the online community thing has been very positive. Largely, I had one kind of could be perceived as negative response. Someone sent me a message, and it said something along the lines of, if you're claiming to be enlightened, then it means you're not enlightened. And there was a whole kind of spiel thing going into the details. This isn't why I'm doing these videos. I'm doing them, first of all, to benefit me, and I'm doing them in the hopes that sharing my experience can benefit other people. That's why I'm doing them. I'm just not interested in debating technicalities or definitions. Yeah, to the person that messaged me that, I know the person's watched these videos. I think you're right. You know, I don't think I'm enlightened, and then you're clearly more of an expert on this than I am, which is good. I don't, have a huge amount of knowledge. I'm still learning. And to anyone who's watching these, hopefully you get something from them positive. And then that's good. And if it triggers you, then I apologise, but I'm just sharing my own experience. But my main point, which I don't want people to miss, is you need to see this for yourself. Go and practice for yourself. See it for yourself, and the concepts and the theories and the definitions are all things of the mind. And the person that messaged me is very very clued up in the technical side of things, which is impressive. But I don't want you to miss my main point, which is go and practice for yourself, go and see it for yourself. I know I'm not going to resonate with everyone, but I'm sharing that I've had a profound perceptual shift that has benefited me in my life, and that's why I'm doing it. This isn't something I would normally do, and I encourage you to practice for yourself, see it for yourself. And I'm sure I'm certain there are people online on YouTube who are much more equipped to explain this stuff in a better way than I am, with the language they use and all that kind of stuff. So if that suits you more, if my videos don't suit you, then that's totally fine. Just your own preference. Before I would have definitely taken that as a personal attack, and it would have triggered me, and it would have triggered my ego, and I would want to defend my position and all that kind of stuff. But I don't really care. I do care about positive things that come from sharing our experiences, and I'd rather focus on that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the deepening of this insight. So I've been moving further into this, and this is when things start to get a bit weird, and this is where I might start to lose some people when I talk about these things. Is that this is where I might lose one of my 2 viewers when I talk about these things. Is that with these insights, you clearly see that the mind is an illusion. The fictitious sense of self that is made of mind is obviously an illusion. It's obviously fiction, because it can't directly be substantiated by physicality in the physical world, if you know what I mean by that. But when you go more deeply into this, you begin to see through the illusion of reality as in this physical world. So when I've been moving deeper and deeper into these states of focus or defocus, or whatever you like to call them, presence, emptiness, what I notice is that the boundaries of my mind, but also the physical boundaries of the body, start to dissolve, and the environment starts to dissolve. And can I explain it like, you ever stare at one point for long enough, and then you kind of you don't see, a blind spot appears, and then your vision starts distorting around that spot, so you see that your vision's kind of like lying to you in a sense. You're getting these visual distortions. It's like that, but with everything. All of the sensations, all of the sight, sound, everything, you start to distort, and then you realise that reality isn't as solid as you thought it was. Like I said before, reality is held together by the mind. The mind is the glue that holds us all together, and time, and our concept of time and space are all things that contribute to maintaining this idea, this illusion. It's kind of like, if I could describe it in a very vague way, it's kind of like a glitch in a computer program. It's like a glitch in a virtual reality, and you're exiting the program in a sense. Boundaries start to dissolve. Very, very trippy. The trippiest thing I've ever experienced. In fact, it's very similar to psychedelic drugs in the fact that it dissolves the ego, the dissolution of boundaries, physical boundaries, and the dissolution of the sense of self and the ego. And I start to see that the dark night of the soul thing that I talked about before is just a longer term, sober version of a bad trip. Similarities there are very, very obvious. But the thing about that is that it's trippier because it's scarier in a way it can be, because you can't be written off as an induced high or trip or experience. It can't be written off as a state induced by psychedelics. It's known to be the true nature of reality, or the nature of reality is known to be something out with the narrative, because we go along with this narrative, and the context and all that creates this reality. But when you go deeply into meditation, the context starts to vanish. The boundaries start to vanish. You ask yourself the question, or you inquire, where do I start? Where do I end? Where does me end, and where does everything else begin? That's a kind of inquiry type idea, if you can describe it like that is now leading to this deepening insight. And I've been shifting out of the physical boundaries of the person. And like I said, your awareness expands out, your consciousness expands out with the person, out into the environment. The environment starts to change. The perceptions are all there, the senses are all there, sights there, sounds there, touch is there, proprioception, your idea of where your physical body is and your mind is. But the context starts to disappear, and with that context, the form starts to change in a sense, and you move out. Very, very weird. It's kind of like it's like an extra sense. Is that the best way to describe it? I don't know. But you disidentify from the person. The person dissolves and you move out, and your identity, in a sense, if you can call it that, becomes something else. But the raw sensations are still there. The raw hearing, the feeling is there. There's just no subject. There's just no subject to witness it, as in the person. That vanishes. If that makes sense. And you really start to see that this reality is an illusion, and with that perspective comes a massive change, and things don't seem as heavy anymore. And once you get past that dark night thing of realizing the true nature, is such a massive hit to the ego, then you can go back into it and enjoy it. You can enjoy the non-reality of reality in a very real way. Because it's as real as it is until you realise that it's not real. But then when you let go of that, it's all still here, and you have a new perspective. On things. And you see that everything's the one thing. It's all an interconnected, interdependent web of form. It is incredible. doing this right now, driving, just appreciating everything, taking everything in, without labels and without judgment, and without an internal narrative in your head talking you through everything or taking you out of the experience as it is. No person to witness, just form experiencing itself. And it leads me back to the gateway, or the trigger for me. It was, and this happens a few times, was something along the lines of, if anyone's watching this video, I'm talking to you through this video, and you're hearing what I'm saying, but really it's the one intelligence talking to itself through our multiple forms, and it's talking itself out of this illusion and back to its true nature, because we are the same thing, and we've been lost in this illusion for such a long time, and now we're waking up. But yeah, the one intelligence expressing itself through multiple forms in this very real feeling non-reality. The paradox is so difficult to explain, and it really is beyond words. Just started snowing, by the way. But yeah, that was a trigger for me. That realization that I am talking to myself. You're talking to yourself, but not you as in you and me, you as in singularity, the one consciousness. So really it's not me coming up with these words to try and get a point across. It's the single consciousness talking to itself through me and through you. That's it. Really quite beautiful when you think of it that way. And you can see why you're not motivated to argue with people in the same way anymore, when you can see things from that perspective. But yeah, everything exists, but it also doesn't exist. It's a paradox. Something can't exist without it also not existing at the same time. Which is why I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I've not looked this up, but I have the feeling that science or physics or whatever is going to discover, maybe it's discovered this already, but I don't know, but it's going to discover and prove that reality doesn't exist. We don't actually exist, but we do exist at the same time, and we're constantly flickering in and out of existence at such a rate that we simultaneously exist and don't exist at the same time. I can guarantee, as a prediction, I'm going to look this up afterwards and see if it's science is there yet, but that's going to be proven in the future through some physics or whatever, scientists and whatnot. But I know that from bringing my awareness into not going along with the narrative and the mind, bringing my attention, my awareness into this reality and observing it. And then when you do that for long enough, the insight comes and you see right through it. You see right through reality as you know it. You can see right through the illusion, see it for what it is, and you know this. But this can't be understood with the conceptual mind, hence it's so difficult to explain. But yeah, I hope people practice themselves, and if anyone's listening, well, I know I've discussed with people online quite a bit, but it's just practice, that's it. And I think a lot of the talk about it, and the need to understand, definitely for me, can be counterproductive. Because all you need's there. You just have to bring your attention there and look. Build that habit first. Get out of the habitual mind patterns until presence becomes a habit, and then that will deepen. The insight will come when you'll see through reality, and your perspective will completely shift. And then once you've seen that, you know you can't go backwards. Once you've experienced a completely sober psychedelic trip, like I'm completely sober. I've been completely sober throughout this whole journey, and I tell you what, it's much more trippy than psychedelics. In fact, I think I've already said this. I don't think the psychedelics can be that useful for people unless it's in the context, unless you have the prior practice, you're doing it for a reason, and you have the integration afterwards, and you can actually use it. But the experience out of context, like I had these experiences, like I mentioned in my earlier videos, when I was in my teens, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for that. I actually thought I had a stroke or something the first time that happened on the train, because it was so out of context and so bizarre, and I just wrote it off as just an experience. But don't write it off. Keep practicing. Use that, and integrate it into your practice. And then soon it'll become like now. Reality is so vivid and intense, incredible. It's like I'm high all the time, but not in an artificial drug high. It's like vivid aliveness, and all of the worry and all of the negativity and all of the apathy that I had before, it's just gone now. It's just gone. And I don't worry. Yeah. Anyway, that's a very long video, so that'll do for now.